I did $600 million of mortgages by myself over 20 years, and I've got a lot of advice on starting as a passive or networking as a passive.
Hello, folks, and welcome to another episode of Get Diversified. We're back on the show, and I'm your host, Melvin Landry. Today, we have fantastic guests. We have Mr. David Priest out of Houston, Texas, and got the opportunity to connect with David and share war stories in real estate. And look, his growth trajectory is phenomenal. He's growing his door count. He's partnering on deals. He loves real estate, and he's in the great state of Texas. So, David, welcome to the show, brother. How we doing?
Thank you, Melvin. Doing wonderful.
Good. So, David, hey, why don't we kickstart the show? Look, we talk about diversification. Everyone's path's different, right? Folks are working on different stuff, but the aim at the end of the day, right? We're trying to get to financial freedom and we're trying to get to a better place. So, hey, won't you tell the listeners a little bit about you, how you got into real estate, and what some things got cooking over there in the great state of Texas?
Well, I've been in real estate about 20 years. So I started out more as a business owner, an entrepreneur. So I got in the mortgage business in 2003, did about 5 years, kind of learning the trade. I started a mortgage company in 2008, which was a very strange time to go out on my own and start a company. And that was a very challenging time, obviously, but it taught me the power of perseverance. And if you know how to do something well, you just stick with it. You don't worry about what the market is. So did that, became a real estate broker. So spent about over 20 years really involved with single family. But on the business owner side, I actually never bought any single family residences. It's quite a bit different than the way most people start. I was financing them, I was helping people buy them, and I wasn't going out and doing it myself. I got into larger projects about 2 years ago. I got very interested in multifamily because I had a friend of mine who was an investor and I was looking for alternative investments, and he'd come out of a syndication and he was telling me how wonderful it was. And I didn't know what a syndication was. I was at lunch with him, and he's a New Yorker. So he was explaining syndication in kind of a New York accent. And I was like, what is this? You're in the mafia, or you're dealing with these like tough guys? Literally didn't know anything. So coming out of that conversation, I kind of realized like, wow, I don't know everything about real estate. I'm not an expert. I'm only an expert in my one field, and I got to go learn this stuff. So I was trying to learn it as a passive, which is definitely the best way to start. And I've got a lot of advice on starting as a passive or networking as a passive, which is another thing I do now, kind of one of my secrets. And so I started researching it, and I started getting educated and going to meets and reading books and doing podcasts and listening to podcasts. And I realized pretty quick, like, wow, this is a really cool business. I really like this people, and this is fun, and I can make a lot of money too. So everything clicked all the boxes for me. So I had been working kind of as a solopreneur, I did $600 million of mortgages by myself over 20 years. It's a lot of business, which is me. I didn't have a team. So every time there's a downturn, I'm always fine because my expenses are almost zero. So I had to break out of that mentality for multifamily, because multifamily is not a solopreneur. It's not a do-it-yourself. And I had that mentality going in, and it took me about a year to figure out that was a really bad way of doing it. And then started doing passive investments. When I started my passive investments, that's when everything really blew up for me. Because before then, I was trying to keep my powder dry. I need money for my own deals. I don't want to invest in other people's deals. And once I figured out, wow, if I go invest in these people's deals, this is going to be a learning experience. And then also I invest with people that I want to work with as general partners. So if you're trying to break in the business or trying to become a GP on multifamily, write a check, even if it's the minimum, to somebody you want to work with. And then you've got an in with them. They'll return your phone calls. They'll go to lunch with you. They'll work with you. Or you can go introduce yourself to somebody that's amazing that they don't even know you. But if you come shake hands and go, hi, I'm David Priest. I just put $100,000 in your project out in Las Vegas. They may be a billionaire, but they'll go, oh, wow, cool, thanks. And let's go, let's talk, So it's a very effective way of getting to know people. So I've done as a passive about 1,200 doors that I'm in the middle of those passive investments. And then as a general partner, I've only done 2 deals, but it's about 430 doors, something like that. My first deal was a 296 unit. So I started pretty big, but I had partners. I wasn't, it wasn't just me. It was about 6 people. And I was very, just lucky to be in the train, just lucky to be inside the limousine. Let's put it that way. I just felt good being there with them.
Understood. You mentioned 296 units. You started off big in your very first deal. The very first deal for me was 48 units. So that's progressing and doing well even today. So I want to kind of break that up into a couple of parts. Let's talk about the power of community. You talk about conferences. You talk about going, collaborate with people, having lunch. I want to share for the viewers how you and I connected.
Well, Well, we met at Limitless, which is Ken McElroy's conference, and we just happened to sit by each other and struck up a conversation and started talking. So conferences are fantastic, and you never know who you're going to bump into. And I think on some of them, you go like general real estate. Like Limitless was very much a real estate conference. They had some business owners there too. I go to a lot of conferences now that aren't real estate related because I'm looking for passive investors. So business owners, tax events. I'm looking for normal people that like, hey, I've got a tax problem. I want to invest in real estate. Can you help me with my tax problem? Because people with tax problems generally have good income. So that's one thing I do. But you never know like who you're going to bump into. But one of the skills also is not to be negative, but if you're in a conversation like, wow, this isn't really my person, or I don't hit it off with them, or I don't, you got to move on. You don't want to sit there and talk for 3 hours with somebody you don't like or aren't interested in. So when you find people you're interested in, you try to connect. And then I saw you again at a different conference too. So it's like once you know somebody, you feel like you see them everywhere. Like next job, I go to 10 or 12 and I'll probably see, I mean, I know people that, at every one. And also when you get known as a person that goes to all these, I mean, everyone just feels comfortable with you because they know you, they've seen you everywhere and they feel like you're in the club or whatever. So it's easier to network with people or to approach people that maybe you're intimidated by. And that's one of the hardest things is meeting people that you respect and be intimidated by. I mean, I think at Limitless, I met Robert Kiyosaki. I was at VIP and he was there, went up and talked to him and I shook his hand and my hand was like shaking when I like shook his hand. I was like starstruck, but it was just, that kind of stuff it's really cool. And if you're just sitting at home and you're not doing anything, you're not going to these things, you miss out on those kind of opportunities. And I always come out of them inspired, I recharge and I go for the inspiration. You'll pick up knowledge, but it's around being the people and the inspiration is most of it.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you on that front. So I got a chance to speak with Robert also as well. After hours, when you're chit-chatting and you're just talking about the realms of real estate at the bar. So, and I got a chance to speak with him on a personal level. It was pretty cool. A really easygoing guy, right? I mean, some people may view him as a confrontational person, but I mean, had a great conversation and even got to it on a personal level, which is pretty cool, right?
I'm very risk averse. I like going on a team. When you're around full-time real estate investors all the time, you get really inspired.
Jacqueline and Melvin, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to listen to this episode of Get Diversified. Please make sure to subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss out on future episodes. Finally, stop by our website and follow us on social media. Ciao for now. Make it a great day, and we'll see you next time. And remember, get diversified.